Did anyone ever tell you the brutal truth about life after 80? Crossing into your 80s brings a quiet shift that few people talk about. Not the surface level stuff like birthdays or slower mornings, but the deeper, often unspoken changes. It's a time filled with both wisdom and loss, presence and distance, deep peace, and sometimes deep loneliness. And if you're not prepared for some of those shifts, they can catch you off guard, leaving you wondering, why didn't someone tell me? In this video, we're walking through 5 brutal realities of life after 80. Not to scare you, not to depress you, but to offer clarity. Because when you see these things coming, you're no longer at their mercy. You can prepare for them, and you can meet them with strength instead of surprise. We'll talk about the shrinking circles, the body that doesn't bounce back the way it used to, the creeping dependence that feels uncomfortable even when it's necessary, the quiet way society starts to overlook you, and that strange ache that shows up when old regrets meet too much time and too little purpose. Stay with us until the end, because while some of these truths may feel heavy, they also open the door to something powerful: acceptance, resilience, and a chance to shape the final stretch of life with the kind of dignity no one else gets to define but you. Let's talk about what really happens after 80 and how you can walk through it with open eyes, steady hands, and your head held high. Number 1, a social circle that quietly disappears. One of the first realities that hits after 80 isn't physical, it's relational. The people who once filled your world begin to fade, often without warning. Friends pass, neighbors move, siblings grow quiet. Even longtime companions who once called every week start calling every few months. It's not personal, it's just time, but it leaves a space that can feel hollow no matter how strong or independent you are. You wake up one morning and realize the phone doesn't ring like it used to, the invitations slow down, the family visits grow shorter, more rushed. People still love you, but they're busy or distracted or dealing with their own aging in different ways. And slowly, the everyday interactions that once kept your life rich with voices and laughter start thinning out. This isn't something anyone prepares you for. In your 60s and even 70s, most people are still around. There's energy, movement, check-ins. But after 80, there's a shift. You begin to outlive people. You begin to outpace conversations. And that shift is quiet. So quiet that at first, you might not even notice it's happened. I knew a man named Walter, 84, who used to go to the same coffee shop every morning for years. The staff knew his order. His friends met him there without texting first. It was a rhythm. But over time, those friends stopped coming. Some passed, some moved, and others just stopped driving. One day, Walter told me, "It's strange to walk into a place where everyone used to know your name, and now you're just the man in the corner booth." The pain of that kind of loneliness isn't always loud. It doesn't always come with tears or visible grief. Sometimes it's just a long silence after dinner or a walk that feels a little too quiet. It's realizing that the list of people who really know you is getting shorter, and you can't stop it. But knowing this reality means you can do something about it. You can open new doors, even when others have closed. You can stay connected on your terms, whether through a church group, a weekly lunch, a phone call you initiate, or even a letter. Because after 80, connection doesn't come to you the way it once did. You have to go get it, and that takes courage. But you've made it this far. You already have that courage in you. Number 2, a body that stops bouncing back. By the time you reach 80, your body doesn't whisper, it speaks clearly. The little aches that used to come and go now linger. The fatigue that once passed after a nap might stretch into the next day. And the truth that catches many people off guard is this: after 80, even small health problems can change your life overnight. You might wake up feeling fine, go about your day, and by evening, something feels off. A little dizziness, a sore leg, a cough that sticks around longer than expected. And suddenly, you're sitting in a waiting room, hearing words like monitoring, imaging, or possible admission. What used to be brushed off with rest now demands attention. And often, there's no going back to how things were before. What makes this stage so difficult isn't just the physical pain, it's the unpredictability. You could do everything right, eat well, move gently, get your sleep, and still feel like your body is one step ahead of you, making decisions you didn't agree to. A misstep on the stairs can lead to weeks of recovery. A stomach bug can drain you for days. And even when you recover, things don't always return to normal. Your balance might feel off. Your breathing might take more effort. The bounce back isn't what it used to be. I once met a woman named Gloria, 81, who was sharp, active, and proud of her independence. She loved tending her backyard garden, walking the neighborhood, staying engaged with her book club. But after a minor fall while trimming a rose bush, everything changed. It wasn't the injury, it was the aftermath. Weeks of rest turned into months of reduced strength. Her confidence slipped. "I thought I was just taking a break," she said, "but my body treated it like a full stop." That's the part no one tells you. At 80, rest is not always restorative in the same way. It can turn into decline if you're not careful. And sometimes, even when you're careful, your body decides to slow down anyway. You realize you're not bouncing back, you're adapting forward. But here's the strength in knowing this. You start honoring your energy more wisely. You learn to pace yourself, not out of fear, but out of respect for what your body has carried you through. You treat health not as a guarantee, but as a daily practice, a sacred one. And when you do that, even if the bounce is gone, your footing becomes steadier. You walk slower but more aware. You rest longer but more intentionally. And you begin to see that even a slower body can still carry a strong spirit. Number 3, a growing need for help. No matter how independent you are, one of the hardest pills to swallow after 80 is this. You start needing help for things you used to do without thinking. It doesn't happen all at once. It creeps in quietly, subtly, until one day you notice you're avoiding the high cabinets. You're holding onto the railing just a little tighter. You're hesitating before getting behind the wheel on a rainy day. And even though part of you still feels capable, another part knows some things aren't as easy anymore. What makes this reality difficult isn't just the physical shift, it's the emotional one. For those who've lived decades taking care of others, the thought of becoming the one who needs help can feel deeply uncomfortable. You may start feeling like a burden, or you may begin hiding what you can't do, skipping the grocery trip, not telling your kids you tripped, trying to fix the light bulb on your own, even though your shoulder been hurting for weeks. The desire to stay independent doesn't go away. If anything, it grows stronger. But the truth is, independence after 80 looks different than it did at 60. It's not about doing everything alone. It's about knowing when to ask for help and being brave enough to accept it. I knew a man named Eugene, 85, who prided himself on doing everything himself. He had lived through war, raised 4 kids, built his own shed out back with nothing but spare wood and determination. But one winter, he slipped on an icy step while trying to salt his walkway. He didn't call anyone, just pulled himself up and tried to act like it didn't happen. But the bruised ribs told a different story. It was his daughter who noticed he was moving slower, wincing when he sat down. When she offered help, he resisted at first. "It's just a little soreness," he said. But eventually, he admitted, "It's not the pain. It's the fact that I needed help and didn't want to admit it." That's the silent battle many people fight after 80. The need for assistance grows, but the willingness to accept it lags behind. And yet, asking for help doesn't make you weak. It means you're wise enough to know your limits and strong enough to preserve your dignity in new ways. Needing help doesn't mean you've lost independence. It means you're choosing connection over pride, safety over struggle, and allowing others to be part of your journey, just like you were part of theirs. The truth is, accepting help at 80 is not surrender, it's strategy. Number 4, a presence the world starts to overlook. One of the more painful realities of life after 80 isn't about your body or your memory. It's about your presence. Slowly, you begin to feel invisible. Not to the people who love you, maybe, but to the world at large. The cashier looks past you to the person behind. The doctor speaks to your adult child instead of addressing you. The server at the restaurant assumes you can't hear or decide for yourself. It's subtle at first, then it becomes more frequent. And even if you try to brush it off, it lands somewhere deep. Because no matter how old we are, we still want to be seen. When you've lived a full life, Worked, raised a family, made decisions, weathered storms. It's jarring to feel dismissed just because your skin has folded or your hair is grayed. What hurts more is that it's rarely meant with malice. It's just a fast world that forgets slow steps still carry stories. It's a society obsessed with youth that overlooks the strength it takes to reach old age. And unless you speak up, you risk shrinking, not because you've lost your voice, but because others stopped listening. I remember a woman named Irene, 86, who volunteered at a local museum. One day, a visitor asked a question about the very decade of history she had lived through. But the question skipped right over her. When I asked how she felt, she smiled and said, "I'm used to it." But there was sadness in that smile, the kind that comes from being seen as furniture instead of fire. But you are not furniture. You are not background. You are still here, still thinking, still contributing. And just because the world sometimes forgets that, doesn't mean you have to. So what can you do? You speak anyway. You ask the questions. You offer the opinions. You vote. You share your stories. Even when no one asks. You stand up, even if your knees wobble. Because every time you claim your space in the room, you remind the world, and yourself, that you're not done yet. You are not invisible. You are a living library, a witness to time, a voice that still matters. And you don't have to shout to be heard. You just have to refuse to disappear. Number 5, a sense of regret. Regret wears many faces after 80. Sometimes it's a soft whisper about chances not taken, a trip postponed too long, a conversation never had, a dream buried beneath duty. Other times it's louder, a memory that returns in the quiet, asking, what if? At this age, you've had time, plenty of it, but that's the trap. You always thought you'd have more. So you said, later, I'll get to it. There's still time, until there isn't. I once spoke with a man, 87, who had built a business, raised 4 children, and provided for everyone. But when I asked what he wished he had done differently, his voice broke when he said, I wish I had danced more with my wife while she was still here. It wasn't about the grand gestures. It was about the little moments he had let slip past. Regret after 80 isn't about failure. It's about missed presence. It's not the wrong turns that haunt you. It's the silence when you should have spoken, the embrace you never gave, the sunset you didn't stop to watch. But here's the quiet grace. You're still here, and while you can't go back, you can go forward. Even if it's slowly, even if it's just today, you can say the thing. You can write the letter. You can call the person. You can step outside and feel the air on your face. And let that count. Because regret does not mean you failed. It means you cared. And what a beautiful thing to have lived enough life to care deeply. Let the regret remind you not of what's lost, but of what's still possible. And if nothing else, let your honesty become a lantern for someone younger who's still deciding when to begin. Number 6, a strong desire to be heard, not fixed. By 80, you've heard every kind of advice, from doctors, from children, from strangers in grocery store lines. People mean well. They want to help. But what they often forget is this. You're not broken. You're not a project. You're a person with a story. You don't always want someone to fix you. Sometimes you just want someone to sit down, look you in the eye, and listen. Not nod while scrolling their phone. Not offer solutions the moment you pause. Just listen, because after a certain age, you start to feel invisible. Like your voice no longer carries weight. Like people only see the wrinkles and not the wisdom. But what you've lived through matters. Your joys, your heartbreaks, your ordinary days. They're all chapters in a book no one else can write. And if someone took the time to really hear you, they might understand something about life they never learned from school or screens or self-help books. So no, you don't need fixing. You need presence, a willing heart beside you, not a prescription pad. It's not about pity. It's about dignity. Sometimes healing comes not from a cure, but from being truly heard. So if you're watching this with silver in your hair, or lines carved by laughter and time, remember this. You are not fading. You are refining. Not winding down, but rising up in grace, wisdom, and wonder. You are the oak tree that weathered 100 storms and still stands tall, the candle that lights others. Even as the wax grows low, your story matters. Your voice still echoes, and your presence is a gift this world still needs. So walk on, with dignity in your step and fire in your soul, because age is not the end of beauty. It is a masterpiece. Thank you for joining us today to the end. We'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one thing you learned and how you plan to apply in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.